the source of most writer's block, as I have witnessed it, and I don't mean to sound judgmental or condescending because I think it's a real thing and it's terrible when it happens to a writer, but the source of it, for me, is my focus has gotten on to the effect I want to have the book to have it. It's stopped being about the actual book itself. I've started projecting into the future. I've started making decisions on how it should be perceived. I've started doing the publicity for the book before I've even written the book. That's writer's block for me. So it's become easier. I hate to say it. It's easier right now, you know, knock on wood. But the problem with research is that I will research until someone, you know, slaps me across the back of the head. I mean, research and procrastination are like brother and sister, babe. They're like right there. You know, and I love to read. I mean, on any given day, I would rather be reading a book than writing a book. So research is all about reading, you know. But what I found now is that I don't do a down to the last detail outline, but I do enough outlining that I get myself to a position of confidence where I can like let go and begin writing. And the same kind of happens with research. I always think, oh, I'll do all the research I have to do before I begin, and it never works out. There's always something you have to do piecemeal after you start the writing of it. But you build up, I think, and then you burst. Does that answer your question? Good. How do I avoid writing the screenplay as I'm writing the novel? You know, that's a tough one. Because I think there's a school of thought that goes something like, movies have so influenced the way we read and the way we visualize stories that it's very difficult to distinguish the two. What I can get out of a novel that I can't get out of a movie is a character's voice, you know. And so the thing that I watch out for is, have I abandoned the voice in favor of action and pyrotechnics, right? Have I lost John's voice in this car chase? There isn't a car chase in Blindfall, but that's probably a reason why. But it's a tough one. I mean, my only formal writing training has been in screenwriting. You know, I spent some time at NYU. The only real writing books that I've studied and read have been about the art of screenwriting, but they all come back to the same point, which is that plot comes out of character and not the other way around. You can't shoehorn a character into a plot. That once you have come up with a really solid character and you've learned more about them than you probably would ever be able to include in the novel, then you're ready to begin creating an outline for a story. So does that answer your question? You look skeptical. Did it really answer your question? I'm all about answering questions adequately.
No.
No. Yeah. Well, I got close. Okay. Give some background on how the cover came about. Let me tell you how my covers used to come about. They would send me 4 covers. I would like one, and everyone else would like another one. And they would spend a month badgering me into liking the one that they all liked. So, with the exception of the snow garden, I think. Everyone thought it was armpit hair, but it's really dead grass and snow. I like that one from the beginning. This one we were all crazy about. I think there were 2 or 3 images that were submitted to me. They were all red. They were all desert related. This was the only one that contained the decal for Force Recon, the insignia, which has the words swift, silent, and deadly in Latin on it, which occasioned some controversy because there were people who wondered if it was a poison symbol. But I think it works beautifully, and it fits so nicely inside the sea. But I'll tell you what's been happening. You asked me to talk about the cover. I gotta, like, you know. What people are reading it and interpreting it in all these different ways. Like somebody the other day was like, well, I think that the windmills, because they're silent, are about the silence of gay Marines and their struggle. And I was like, you go on thinking whatever you want, babe. I think they're right outside Palm Springs, which is where the book is set. Somebody else, there was another one today, I can't remember what it was, but it was, they were like soldiers. They were like an army. That's actually a good one. That was my editor, so I can't make fun of that one. Sorry, Mitch. But I like it because it evokes a sense of place. You know, I think the novel is very much about, I don't know if it's about California, but it comes out of California. You know, and that is if you're driving on I-10 west, yeah, it's west, across the bottom of California. It's sort of the first real piece of civilization that you see if you don't count a bunch of meth labs. And they're like sentries that sort of stand right at this soaring gap between mountains. And there's a moment in the book when John and Alex have to drive the other way through it, and it's the moment when John is having to reach into his past to help Alex. So there you go. That's the cover 101. Yes?
You say you research the books. How much of it is human research that you actually talk to human people, get human feedback? And how much is it that you read out of other books?
How much of my research is human research and how much do I read out of other books? This was a lot of human research. I felt like if I only read it out of books, I would get pegged as a fake. Well, I am a fake. I mean, I'm not a Marine, and I wrote this book from the point of view of a Marine, but I had to meet and talk with actual Marines, both gay and straight, to understand the perspective they had on the world, because it's a unique perspective. They are men apart. Something I had read in a book by Thomas Ricks called Making the Corps, which is about boot camp, was that Marines are taught in boot camp that mainstream society is defective and in need of support. And it's weak, essentially. And we are teaching you to be stronger than the members of mainstream society. And the way I reacted to that when I first heard it, and this might get some laughs, is that's what a lot of gay men think. Gay men think that mainstream society is barren and plain and in need of the beauty and culture that they're going to provide it, and they feel like men apart. And I thought, that was the first thought I had around the idea that made me think maybe I'd pick it up again. But to get back to your question, a lot of times, I sort of got really involved in the crime writing community in Southern California, which is very big. LA gets a bad rap on sort of literary matters, but we got a lot of crime writers who are living out there, and they're pretty good. And we get together, and we're very nice to each other because we're not as competitive as literary writers, because, to be honest, there's more shelf space for us. So we're supportive. And all different laughs in different places in New York City. Anyway, yeah, not so competitive. All